Girlfriend, F27. Wants me, M31. To attend her work's corporate party as a plus, and I don't feel comfortable with it. My M31, girlfriend, F27, of roughly 2.5 years work is planning their usual annual company Christmas party where employees and their partners, spouses, optional but supposedly preferred, are invited to attend for an overnight stay, meal, party, open bar, etc. I've never been to the previous events due to a work commitment last year, and the year prior we were still quite a new couple. She works for a large nationwide recruitment agency, and each year a different city's office hosts, and those not from that region normally stay in a fancy hotel booked by the company. They are in the process of confirming the total number of guests, and she'd like me to go. As a heads up, we are very open and communicate well, I'd say. She's told me that, prior to us dating, on her first work's Christmas party, after a few drinks she went to an after party in one of the guys' hotel rooms and engaged in a threesome with two dudes from her office as a bit of a bucket list experience. After thinking about it, I've said to her I'd rather give it a miss, but I'm totally happy for her to go on her own. She's told me it's important to her from a career perspective as it's good for her image, to get to meet in person with people she works with from other regions, and can socialize with the senior management, and that nearly everyone's from work partners attend. We have since been arguing all last week, and I have been accused of not supporting her career as I've never attended her previous work events, being immature and shaming her. I really honestly don't think any of this. It was something she did prior to meeting me. We do hold differing views on sex, as for me it has always been something special, where she views sex as something that's just a bit of fun. This isn't an issue and has actually been good for us as we've learned a lot from each other. I'm even comfortable with the fact she still works alongside these two guys. I know she has had a lot more sexual partners than me, but as she has always viewed casual sex when she was single as a bit of fun, and I know deep down it wasn't meaningful. Accepting a sexual history is one thing. People are entitled to a sex life. I'm cool with that. The past is the past, but this feels different as it feels like the present, and socializing at the same party with my girlfriend and the two males that have been intimate with her is a different task. It makes me feel awkward and uncomfortable. I thought it would be easier to say I'm not attending. Having asked if others at her work knew, she said yes as one, or both of the guys, did spread rumors afterwards, and also has been office banter and nicknames about it. She said it doesn't bother her. She is confident and the type that would own it. The place gives me finance bro vibes. The thought of shaking hands, making small talk, and sharing a table for a meal with guys who have had sex with my girlfriend is difficult. For context, we are in a good place, rarely argue, and have recently been talking about marriage, having kids, etc., and really have a great relationship all around and don't want to do anything that would harm her out relationship or career. I posted about my situation on another subreddit, but feel like this might be more helpful for me. Turns out strangers on the internet are actually very helpful. Relevant comments. Honestly, I do think this is something you need to work through. Maybe you can avoid going this year, but if she stays with this company at some point, her fiancé or husband's refusal to ever go to a work event is going to impact her reputation. I think it's better for you to just get it over with and see that it's really more something you've built up in your head. Perhaps it would help if you tried not thinking of it as socializing. These kinds of events are essentially mandatory for her, and your behavior or refusal to show up does reflect on her. She is not asking you to be best friends with these men. Just be polite in a professional setting for a short time. Upe. Thanks for your response. I do understand not attending prior or future events as a spouse is bad for her reputation, although I feel like the previous were valid reasons. Her being honest about it is appreciated, but I'm just trying to get over the social awkwardness that I have built up in my head. Comment. She was a consenting partner in that threesome. By being upset or unwilling to go to a place because of the other two partners, you are undermining her choice and agency as a person. What if you wanted her to attend a wedding where your ex was present? It's not the sexual partner, it's the fact it was a threesome, and you are kind of making moral judgments, plus also afraid the guys will think they have something over you. Is that correct? Upe. Well, yeah, I'd say you're mostly right. However, it's not the act of her choosing to be part of a threesome itself I'm judging. She was single at that time. It's just more difficult because it was a threesome. There are just numerically more ex-sexual partners to be around that feel intimidating. I don't know if it's me feeling they have something over me that makes me nervous. I can accept her past, and ultimately she's my girlfriend now. It's the attitude those two guys hold that could be a problem, as she's told they spread gossip of her encounter to others in the company and use slut-shaming type nicknames for her when they think she's not around. I'd feel uncomfortable and probably emasculated to hear that said about her whilst I was there. Update. 3 months later. One point I just wanted to clarify based on some of the comments and DMs is that I'm not ashamed of her past at all. Before we started dating, I knew due to being part of an overlapping social group she had a sex-positive outlook, and she was open about the fact that she had been with around 50 guys. That was never an issue for me. We may well have different experiences, as I've only been with 3 long-term GFS prior, but it wasn't something that held me back from perusing and starting a relationship with her, and not something that has ever been an issue. What made this situation feel different was that I'd be in a room, possibly sitting at the same table for dinner, with people who are still actively referencing that past experience. I've never had to deal with that face-to-face, and the idea of those same people making jokes with me in the room or even about me made the situation feel more socially uncomfortable. After some deep conversations and listening to each other's point of view, my girlfriend helped me understand her perspective more clearly. She expressed that being the only person from her office without a partner would make her feel awkward and isolated, and possibly lacking social support during the event. She was also surprised and somewhat upset when I changed my mind about attending, as it raised a small doubt that I was viewing this with the idea of shaming her. We also had a constructive conversation around her views on sex positivity. Her confidence in celebrating that part of her life has helped me have a different perspective. She reassured me that any teasing and nicknames at work don't bother her, so why should it bother me? Any terms like SLUT should not be seen as insults. Instead, something to be proud of and offer her an ability to own and reclaim a woman's sexuality without shame, especially since men involved in stuff like that are held to a different standard than her. If she can be proud of herself while confidently standing by her choices, then I realized I should wholeheartedly support that as well. Anyway, I've decided to go to the event. I still have some reservations, but I realize it's important to show my support in her work life. I trust her, and if she's comfortable in that environment, I want to be too. At the end of the day, I'm happy with how open and unapologetic she is about her views, and I don't want to let my discomfort or something as trivial as the possibility of being the target of jokes get in the way of supporting her fully. We've had some great discussions about careers, sex, relationships, women, and society that have only made our relationship stronger. Relevant comments. What kind of assholes would talk about that encounter at work? If you are going to be with her long term, you will need to be at these types of events. If those two make any comments, the easiest is to act like you didn't hear it. Any more than that, you could quip about how she mentioned how shitty they were in bed, or say how you look forward to sharing the story with their next girlfriend. Whatever you do, you cannot appear like you were fazed by it. Upi. From what I know, the company is very much a finance bro vibe, and these guys come across as bragging douchebags. But just because they view something like this the way they do doesn't mean everyone else should. They should be held to the same standard as her for doing the same thing. Update 2.
5 måneders after-post.
I previously posted about how I was apprehensive about attending my girlfriend's Christmas party as a +1, as I thought it would be awkward for me as she had previously had a threesome with 2 guys from her work when single at another company event. Now that I'm off work, and the various festivities and hangovers have finally gone, I've had a bit of time to process and write up an update about this work party that I had previously felt apprehensive about. After posting here, could I please state that obviously I appreciated any positive messages and DMs that have helped me. However, could the bombardment of negative DMs about my relationship please stop? Obviously, after talking to my partner, we decided it would be good for us to attend the night as a couple. I've gotten over my own issues and mindset. Any awkwardness is my own doing, and that her own past choices that she is happy with are not something that I as a supportive partner should be holding against her or something that stops our relationship progressing. Anyway, the venue was pretty fancy. In a nice hotel decked out for Christmas, with decent food, live music, and an open bar, which helped. To be honest, my work nights out are pretty low-key in comparison, and also was good to get a free meal and night away. Meeting her co-workers went about as well as could be. Since my girlfriend works in a company with different teams in different cities, the tables were arranged like this for the meal, so we ended up sitting with her team, including the 2 co-workers I had been worried about. Most people were friendly and welcoming, although I do have to admit the company does have that finance bro vibe I thought it would have. There are a lot of younger people on good salaries with large commission bonuses, who I can see are quite competitive, and admittedly that type of person and environment isn't my scene. I'd find it pretty toxic, but I get that it's not my industry and that's the way these companies work. After the meal, we then moved on to the free bar for the evening for everyone else to mingle. One of the guys was surprisingly easy to get along with. He was with his partner, and he came across as genuine and didn't try to make anything awkward. He introduced himself politely, and afterwards chatted for 5 to 10 minutes at the bar with me about normal stuff like work and football. Nothing that would be uncomfortable for any of us. Honestly, seemed like a decent guy. The other guy, I felt, was a different story. He wasn't rude or anything, but there was an energy about him that rubbed me the wrong way. He was there on his own, more happy to chat directly with those he already keeps company with, and had this cocky vibe. At one point, he did make a comment which I could have interpreted as a dig, but it was vague and wasn't something I would justify with a reply if it was. The biggest thing for me was that the people who said I shouldn't go were wrong. I had this fear that we could be the target of jokes, or that people would see me as weak for being uncomfortable about the situation. But that didn't happen. Most people either didn't know or didn't care about any past, and if they did, were respectful enough to leave it alone. The advice I got here about showing up for your significant other and focusing on our relationship instead of what others might think turned out to be spot on. The only thing that really mattered was how she and I felt about the night, and she was over the moon that I was there. She told me afterward how much it meant to her not going on her own, and honestly, that made any awkwardness I felt totally worth it.